This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay, we're recording. We're recording and things and stuff. This is Drinking with Authors, Literary Briefs episode. Woo!
Woo!
Woo! I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is
Mark Muncy from Eyre, Florida.
Woo!
Woo-hoo!
And our supreme guest. It's like the emperor of guests. Max Gladstone. Now you have to turn around slowly and do the like.
Yeah, there we go. Hold on.
Okay, I'll do it again. Our supreme guest, Max Gladstone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what we're drinking because it's obvious we are. I'm continuing to drink my vanilla porter, Breckenridge Brewery, Fine Colorado. I don't know. It's really yummy. It's good.
It looks fantastic.
Looks amazing.
I love porters. Mark, I know you're not able to.
I'm on my epilepsy meds, so tonight I am on Coffee Shop of Horrors, I Want to Believe, banana cream pie coffee. And yes, it is as delightful as it sounds. And wow, just wow.
You know, I have to order that next time. I stick to my favorites, which is their amaretto. They have like an amaretto one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good.
I can't remember the name of it.
I just finished the last of my autumn spice, which they only do, for autumn. And so it's like I try to ration it like I try to ration blueberry. I would never survive a zombie apocalypse. I cannot ration things. It's February and I'm out of all this stuff that I was trying to keep till next October. So, so
you got to treat yourself in this circumstance,
Yeah, it's just that's it. I'd be dead in a day. So, but this is I found this one last time somebody recommended it. I'm like, I don't know, banana coffee, and now I'm like, oh my god, banana coffee. Why have I not tried this? And so.
Okay, so we'll have to try that, and then eventually we'll be talking about your coffee. Max, what are you drinking for us tonight?
Right now, I'm finishing up a bottle of Lafroig Quarter Cask, which is amazing. This is my sort of sipping whiskey of preference. It's extremely peaty, extremely smoky, very intense flavor, good to savor. And if that doesn't get me through rapid fire questions, I've got the remnants of a bottle of Nika from the barrel, which has served me well in the course of the pandemic.
I like that it looks like a bottle of cologne. So that's
it's
on drunken times. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, it's great in that way. It was extremely frustrating to pour from when it was almost full, like it would splash all over the place. But once we got it down to about here, it started to be really stable. This was one great liquor store in the neighborhood, Ball Square, Fine Wines and Spirits. And I was there looking for something interesting. And they're like, oh shit, we still have a bottle of that. Get that. Really? I was thinking of, oh, no. Get that one.
I had a friend of mine for Christmas buy me alcohol. And I thought this was really funny because she was like, I've got it for your podcast. They're not drinkers. Her and her husband never drink, ever. And it's not like they were drinkers and they just never drank. So she shows up with a bottle of Tito's vodka and this gin. And I was like, the husband gave it to me. But when I ran into her, I'm like, okay, I have in my mind the story that this evolved from, but I need you to tell me how you came to these choices. And she's like, well, what do you think happened? And I said, I think what happened is you thought of a drink. And she gave me blue cheese olives, which is like a martini thing, right? Mm-hmm. I hate olives. Like anybody know me, I hate olives. So I was like, she must think that I like martinis, and I do, but like the chocolate kind, So I go, well, how did you do this? And she goes, no, that's what happened. You like martinis, right? And I'm like, why do you think that? And she goes, well, when we went out to brunch, you had a martini. I said, margarita, continue with your story. He's like, it wasn't a martini with an olive. I'm like, it was a margarita with a jalapeno, but you can where are you going with this? So she went and she's like, I go, do you walk into the store and say to the clerk, my friend drinks martinis? And the clerk said, what kind, vodka or gin martinis? And you had no idea, so you bought a bottle of each? And she's like, yeah, maybe. And I said, cool. What made you choose these two liquors? And she's like, I heard Tito's vodka on the radio.
There you go.
Yep.
And then I said, what made you
Advertising
choose
works.
this? Yeah, this gin. And she goes, well, it's got a pretty bottle. It's got to be good. And I'm like, you should never be an alcoholic. You would be terrible.
Nice.
If you're going to be an alcoholic, be a good alcoholic.
Well, like, do not listen to things on the radio and decide that that's what.
Tito's is pretty good vodka. I'm not like a super vodka guy, but a buddy of mine was really into it and did his research back in the day and said that it was really good. I don't know.
It's not horrible. I just think it's funny because it's such a name brand, at least here in Florida. It's such a like, Tito's, you know what I mean? Tito's, like it's.
Come to think, my friend who was really excited about getting it was Floridian. He was not living in Florida at the time, but.
It's a thing here. Okay, rapid fire questions.
All right, let's go.
We're already 10 minutes in. Let's do this.
Shit.
Fine, Mark.
More rapid.
Much more rapid. What is your favorite book of all time?
Favorite book of all time? Book that I've read the most is probably Roger Zelazny's Lord of Light.
And
maybe. Oh yeah, Night in the Lonesome October is. I read that every October.
Every October.
You just read it to our kid this last October. It's so good. It's so good. It's like it's the gift of Roger Zelazny's late career. The like totally like manna from heaven descending upon.
You talk about fan fiction becoming a thing. We talked about that in the last thing. That's what this is. This is like the ultimate horror fan fiction, and it's amazing. It's
so good. It's so good. And the Gahan Wilson art is so good, and it's like that's my favorite version of Sherlock Holmes. That what isn't Doyle Sherlock Holmes by far my favorite.
Yep.
So good.
Hey,
I love when people bring up Zelazny.
But it's weird because I think Lord of Light gets it just for longevity. Like I started reading that book when I was 10 and didn't get any of the jokes, didn't really understand what was going on, and then I reread it over and over from when I was 10 to when I was about 17 or so. And when I was like actually able to appreciate what somebody meant by, making an ancient fertility symbol at the retreating back of a god or something like that. Oh, this is funny. But yeah, so that and I think Hero and the Crown are probably tied for most. And then, but there's piles of deeply influential books that I've read less often, but it's hard to imagine what I would be without those two.
What is your least favorite book?
Oh, vicious.
Yep.
Oh, brutal.
Yep.
I don't want to be mean.
We know.
Don't make me be mean.
Oh, trust me. If people say that, I don't want to be mean, but then it's not mean. It's your least favorite book.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, God. Let me think. I do a good job of blocking these things out of my memory when I'm done with them.
That too. But
that's okay. Mark's favorite thing in the entire world is when people talk about alabaster skin. Yeah. Literally his favorite thing in the entire world.
Oh, just makes my skin crawl when I read that. Yeah, that's the word. Alabaster. That's the word. When somebody's talking about their alabaster skin, I'm like, I'm out. Book's done. Throw away. I'm done.
I do appreciate in the Vampire Chronicles when like Anne Rice is talking a bit like that, but like the ideas that the old vampires are extremely weird and look like they're made out of stone.
That's a different type, but it's when they're talking about the supple alabaster.
Oh no, yeah.
And alabaster, how does that work?
Yeah.
No, my least
supple as alabaster in those. Oh God, who's the guy? I'm sorry, it's that time of night. I'm spacing. The carving of Orpheus, not Orpheus, so Apollo and Daphne. There's this beautiful carving in the I'm forgetting the name of the artist, but like you can see it's like his hand is catching in her hair, and it's marble, but it looks like a real hand, real hair. You can see so great. But that is not generally what's meant.
What What is your least favorite, Mark?
My-
I forget again.
Jane Eyre. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's it.
Jane
Oh
Eyre.
wow, I just read that. I thought it was pretty
Sorry.
fun.
No, I every time I hear them talk about Rochester, I picture Jack Benny's sidekick from the old Jack Benny. Rochester. Yes, Mr. Benny. Yeah, it's so terrible and such a caricature, and that's what I kept picturing her in love with, and it was the only way I got through the book.
I have a kind of like sharp vision of the Kate Beaton dude watching with the Brontes comic in my head the whole time when I was reading it. Like,
Okay, that would
so
work.
brooding, so mysterious. Well, yeah, if you like alcoholic dick bags.
Yes, that was.
Okay, so on that note, book that I have since come to sort of reach an uneasy truce with, but when I read Madame Bovary in college, I hated it. I could not with this person. And I had a friend who like read it in French and was super excited about it. And this is a great genius work. And maybe if I went back to it, I would like find something there. But it's the only book I've ever hate written an essay about. Like I just could not. It was
I like that. Hate written an essay. Mark, we need to start hate writing essays or columns. That needs to be our new pastime. Okay. Mark, what's your rapid fire question? You're supposed to have one now.
Oh, my rapid fire question. Okay, science fiction. What is your favorite genre of science fiction?
New wave.
Okay.
And by that, I specifically mean that sort of moment when things were getting really formally interesting. All of the really cool science fiction, spaceships and lasers and aliens and stuff is happening, but also you have Zelazny screwing around with typography all over the place. You have Delaney getting stylistically wacky and intense. You have Moorcock doing Moorcock stuff, and I understand, like my genre history is imperfect, so I understand I'm lumping a lot of stuff in here that wouldn't maybe technically be called new wave, but there's that period where you've got Chip Delaney writing, you've got Zelazny writing, you've got Le Guin writing, you've got like just there's so much talent firing on all cylinders, and people are pushing science fiction and literature in directions that it wasn't going to. Like
I call that the B. Dalton era, because that was about the time B. Dalton books existed.
Yeah, exactly. I like that as the B. Dalton era.
Okay, so do you what is your favorite book to movie or book to TV show?
Book to movie or book to TV show? Got to be super basic about it, but man, Lord of the Rings films.
Good stuff.
They're not perfect. I do think that Peter Jackson does Denethor dirty. I think that there are parts of the book that just don't translate. Like there's a sort of ineffable, profound magic to the way that Aragorn moves through the world, that is not captured by the cinematography. But by God, just to have been captured so well that we should have been so fortunate that Hollywood, that the grand mess of cinema filmmaking were to turn out books that were that much in the neighborhood of what Tolkien did. It's a wonderful thing to me that those people, those actors, the spirit that was brought to them, the cave troll, it's great.
All right, dream book to movie. What would you like, or book series to movie?
Oh man, well,
or series.
Yeah, dream book or series. I mean, excluding my own.
Well, we're gonna get into that next.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's see. I want a Broken Earth series because I want those books, which already have such a huge following, to have the step up of just general population recognition that a
Right.
series would get them, but at the same time, the style of them is so intense and so great as a book. Like they're so textual in this juicy, amazing way that it's rare in like extremely commercial, extremely like drivey, salesy science fiction and fantasy to have something that's that intricate and that voice conscious. That I don't know. I'm sure that there's an amazing television series to get out of that, but but it would be an enormous and epic making adaptation challenge. So that having been said, I will say that I am super keeping my fingers crossed for the Dune series, for the Dune movies.
I've given up on keeping my fingers crossed about anything having to do with fucking Dune series anymore.
Well,
Okay.
this is the thing. They are always broken.
No, that's my thing. Like the first
Still
movie,
good.
if you never read the book, it was a mildly entertaining movie. Like the first Dune movie.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah.
Never read the book, was a mildly entertaining movie. And then they did the series and I was like, oh, they're doing a mini series, which is what I love that they do with Stephen King books, because I think it translates way better as a series.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big fan of the Gary Sinise The Stand miniseries,
Yes.
and I'm
And
really
so
confused as to how they managed to make a new The Stand miniseries so impeccably timed. But
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Every time I reread The Stand, I get a cold. So I have avoided it this year because I did not want that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay away. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And so then when they did the mini series, I was like, yes. And then I was like, no. What the fuck? I have this thing from doing screenwriting as well that my boyfriend teases me about it all the time. I'm like, give me the fucking script. Give me the script.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you people? Like this is
they're
not
like,
that
pull
hard.
over and let me drive.
Yes.
Is
How
really
do you
strong.
screw up this connection? How do you?
Yeah.
Like it is not that hard. What are you doing? So it's gonna take a lot for me to watch the next one.
I mean, there's a lot of ranges of feelings about Dune. There are a lot of very valid critiques of it. I read the whole series when I was 10. Like I got into it hook, line, and sinker, and it was really, I think, formative for me in a lot of ways. I really love Jessica as a character. They were standouts for me as a kid reading them because of how central characters like Jessica and Chani are to the unfolding of the thing. It is a very like dude with a knife saves or destroys the galaxy kind of series on surface level, but like for the first half of it, you're following his mother trying to keep him safe and take care of her husband in this like doomed political manipulation, and she's a witch and like not being respected by people, and then constantly like outmaneuvering them. It's so cool. It's great stuff.
Okay, so casting your show.
Okay.
Casting the show of your books.
Okay.
All right. So that's what we're gonna do. Is all right. So which of your series do you think should be first to be translated?
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is closest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, This Is How You Lose the Time War. We optioned, and we got retained to write a pilot script for it. And now we are we're sort of moving forward in the development process. But this is one of those fingers crossed, like, see what happens kind of situations. I think Time War would make a great series. It's very tight and streamlined in the book by design, but there's just so much to do with the emotional connection of those two characters, and the canvas for the show is so vast. The possibilities for elaborating on it are almost endless. It would make a much better series, I think, than it would have made a novel. The vastness of the canvas means that to tell a novel story, you would need to intentionally blunt it in a way, or sort of contain the fiction in a way that at a novella length we could get really poetic and elusive and extremely speedy. Amal has the great analogy of it's like you're seeing worlds out a train window zipping past. But in a series, you have the space, as you were saying, to sort of do that concept justice. So that I would love to see a craft sequence, episodic or procedural series. That would be fantastic. it's a big world. It's hard to make fantasy television just because of the depth of effects that are necessary, but God, it would be so much fun to do.
Nice.
Well, I think it's on approach. Like, Mark, what series would you want to see made if you could see one made?
Oh, I would love, like we were talking earlier, I don't think it would translate well, but I think it would, is Rothfuss. I think Name of the
yeah.
Wind and all that would be an amazing series, but I think it would lose because he's so good with language that it would lose a lot. But I think that would just be spectacular because I would love to see even more people learn about that series because it's
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go old school.
Huh?
I actually think what would be translate very well and be a very fun series on like Netflix would be The Incarnations of Immortality by Pierce Anthony.
Ooh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Because I think
Right.
that the characters and being like real people that have to get sucked into these roles would translate incredibly well to the screen.
That's true. That would be a great, that'd be a great concept. And you could, I mean, I know it wouldn't be a straight up adaptation, but then that also gives you space to like have other actors step in as the characters if people move on or die. It's a good concept. Yeah.
Yes. And then if you go take this and make millions, you better put at least a credit of my name somewhere in there. Okay. Go, Mark.
So old school fantasy, or do you like pulp style or Tolkien style, or do you like the new stuff? You know, as a role player, what's your poison there?
Oh, as a role-playing gamer, interesting question. I as a reader, I like all of it. Really all of it. I haven't delved too deep into the sort of even pre-Lovecraft, like the Dunsany and Edison, like that universe. That's still a frontier that I have not yet advanced on, but it's all wonderful. As a gamer, I am always skeptical when things move towards a Tolkien space, just because for me, right, like my Tolkien exposure was like listening to the BBC miniseries, the BBC audio series over and over again with my sister, reading the books, reading The Hobbit, watching the Rankin Bass movies. Like there's a mythical depth to Tolkien that I think is very hard to capture at a table unless you have, I don't know, it's something that I, at least as a GM, would be really, really unnerved to try to capture. It'd be like trying to bottle lightning. Maybe you get it with one game, with one group of people, maybe not. Whereas I think gaming lends itself very well to a Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser style, like scoundrels and ne'er-do-wells, or even, people with a heart of gold in a kind of messed up world, just trying to get by and stay one step ahead of the headman, that like it lends itself to that feeling. And I think a lot of the core fantasy games are very well tuned to give you that kind of experience. Yep. So that's probably my preference as a runner of games. And it's definitely where I feel more comfortable as a player. So I don't know, like when I sit down, honestly, these days, when I sit down at a table, it's after a long day of work, childcare, being alive during a historical period. Like, is one ready to channel the full gravitas necessary to have a colloquy with Treebeard? Me, often. I'm ashamed the answer is no. Am I ready to like steal a count's prized mask that he was going to wear when he was trying to like knife the Duke later on in the story? Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally down for mask stealing, messing with snake cults, making horrible mistakes because I forgot to read the fine print on the contract. That's very comfortable.
What is your favorite kind of character to play?
My favorite kind of character to play. Good question. I like kinetic characters. But which I don't mean that they have to move a lot, but I do mean that I find it most comfortable to play a character when I have an off the wall idea and the right answer for the character is to follow it up.
Very chaotic neutral of you to say.
Not exactly chaotic neutral, more like if alignment, probably chaotic good, but in terms of do I care about the integrity of this meeting, a lot closer to chaotic neutral. Chaotic shoot the bad guy in the middle of the extended speech, whatever that is.
So basically Samuel L. Jackson, Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, something like that.
What about you, Mark? What are your favorite characters to play?
Oh, I'm always I like playing the snarky wizard who doesn't really like being a wizard. And it's always pretending to be more powerful than he is. I don't know where that comes from. That's probably the old Schmendrick from Last Unicorn in me. Just trying to be that. I always wind up playing that guy, even though I usually just play what I roll, and that for some reason that's what it always comes up as: high intelligence, low wisdom, high dex, and then crappy everything else. So it's like, all right, he's really smart, but only for specific things. And so that's what I usually wind up with, but it's always fun. So
yeah, no, I think it's fun to play a flawed character that doesn't think they're flawed.
Yeah.
Like my favorite character I ever played was a swashbuckler, and she had a 7 wisdom. So she had 0 common sense in any activity. 0. Like, I mean, pretty much she had gotten herself to a point where she thought she was the greatest thing in the no concept of danger. Like you have no common sense. Like, doesn't matter how intelligent you are. And she wasn't that intelligent either.
That's
right?
great. It's like Seahawk and She-Ra.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I love those kind of characters where you can get in and they are so, and the DM's just going, this is going to go, like, you're screwed. You're totally screwed. Whatever.
Well, this is great, though. And I think those are also great characters for GMs, even though they will maybe sometimes give you some crap about it, because they give you something to jump off of, right? I'm playing a character right now, just very early days in a campaign. I'm sure it's going to shake out okay. But I am thinking, I put a lot of time into thinking about, like, oh, this person's backstory, oh, this is a really interesting issue to explore. But I'm finding myself at, like, oh, wait, this is actually a too sensible and moral character. Like, I haven't quite cracked the voice. I haven't quite cracked the kind of chaos this person is going to create, or the kind of fuck up they're going to be. Like, that's really important for me coming to the table. How is this guy or gal gonna mess stuff up for people or for themselves? In a way, it's funny because you need that also when you're writing books, but there's this temptation, because it's all your universe and you have control, to make, like, your character super badass and or like really, really good at what they do. No, they would never create this problem for themselves or that problem for themselves. Actually, that's one of the things that people are excited about. It's one of the things people relate for. Like, we keep bringing up Rothfuss, but one of the things I think is great about Kvothe is that, okay, yeah, he's like really, really smart, and but he also causes 9/10 of his own problems by being an idiot, like by having total failures of basic human common sense. And that's great. It's like, it's charming.
He's always like, if Kvothe did everything that he, the right way, there wouldn't be a book. It would have just been the most boring thing ever.
Right. Like, yeah, Kvothe goes to school and is good at school. And no, Kvothe goes to school and gets himself in deep with a loan shark for no reason. And, then tries to gank the loan shark in the second book, because that works out.
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
For somebody who's so smart, he makes like one bonehead play after another. And initially I thought, it was like, is this person actually that smart? But then, on reflection, I know people who are that smart who make all those stupid fucking mistakes.
Yep. So your books, I know all the ones I've read, that whole series has it's like everybody gets their powers from, like, being very cagey with these demonic deals.
Yes.
Stuff. So there's always the downside that's coming, and they know it. But
yeah.
How good were they at making it, minimizing that?
Right.
And I thought that was that drew me in so much to that, series. And so I wanted to know, do you have any legal background? Where did you come up with some of this?
Thank you. I'm really glad that works for you. I do not myself have any legal background, but I am married to an attorney. Her mom is an attorney. I went to, like, for a while there, soon after I graduated college, it seemed like every single person I knew was going to law school, which gave me, it gives me some limits in how I can write about the law. Like there are some things that I just plain have not experienced, and very hard to write about those from the inside out. But I also have a lot of experience talking to lawyers, hearing how lawyers talk, and trying to make sense of their lives, because I have to survive socially. So it's
Don't
sort
worry,
of like
only authors are listening to this, so you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to listen to this.
Yeah, so it's like just trying to figure out how these people talk, and honestly trying to understand like the initial intuition of bankruptcy and necromancy being pretty similar, that sort of drives a lot of Three Parts Dead, came out of having a conversation with a bankruptcy attorney and just like not knowing what Chapter 11 was, thinking that, growing up in as a child of some high school teachers in rural Tennessee, my sense was, well, when the company runs out of money, then you just sell the stuff and it's done, right? That's what bankruptcy means. You got to sell all your shit. And then like, no, actually, the company's worth more alive, but you can change it a lot in order to make it actually make money now. Like, what is it? Yeah, the machines are just worth like pennies on the dollar, but the brand, the relationships, so it's dead, but then you raise it from the dead, kind of. It's like a Frankenstein situation. You fire the board, like scoop out the brains, put other brains in there, rewire the bits, and then maybe it more or less does. Yeah, that's basically how it works. Oh, cool. So there's an advantage to having enough distance or a low enough level of comprehension of the subject matter that you need to resort to analogy and common experience in order to wrap your head around it. And I don't know, that's kind of my MO.
Good. No, very well done. So
Thank you. I always say when it comes to lawyers, and which I have the opportunity to work with way too many, I always say, what is right is not always what is correct.
Mm-hmm.
What is right is not always what is correct. And they speak like that. So it's a great, like, okay, where are they going? And they're using lots of big words that nobody understands.
There's a wizardiness to it.
Yep. Yes, very completely. Much. Okay, we have to wrap up here shortly. Mark, I'm going to give you, since fanboy, the final question, my friend.
Wow, really? You're putting this on me. Okay, so you mentioned Douglas Adams. You got that behind you.
Yeah.
What is your quick grab book when you just need a quick moment of fun or just something to clear your mind, put you in a Zen moment? What is your go-to book?
Oh, that's a really good question. Honestly, for me, any book, like I have bookcases in almost every room in my house, and almost anything that I grab settles me, puts my mind in order. I think probably the big, like, I can't even right now, and I need to read a book, but I can't with the book that I'm reading, is probably always going to be Terry Pratchett. I mean, he
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't go wrong with that. And there's such a diversity within him. So if I'm in this mood, I'm in a Raising Steam mood, or I'm in a
that's it. Like the one thing that you can count on is that the insight will be deep and cutting, and that the dedication to humanity will be unwavering.
Look at how poetic that ending to this podcast was. Like, I can't even write that crap. Like, seriously. Max, you have been amazing to have on these shows.
Thank you so much.
You have been so much fun.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
When this epic novel that you're rewriting that you wrote 5 million years ago comes out, and you would like to come back on this podcast, I would love to have you for the announce of that book.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to do that.
That would be fantastic. Plus, I'm going to somehow figure out how to get into one of the games you're running. So I'm going to figure that out. It's like a ninja move.
Excellent. I'm easing back into GMing. I've been playing and stuff a lot because it does take some of the same systems as writing books, and my time has not been a lot. But I'm starting off with just like a small bunch of people that I went to college with. Like, can I get a one shot together? Run that over a couple of days, single adventure. So I'm fingers crossed that's going to work out.
I'm just saying, if you want, you have players here that would
excellent
gladly be on your
I would love to do that. I'd love to do that. I'm gonna see if I can run this one thing first without causing it to burn down, fall over, and sink into the swamp. But then
I love that. Okay. So we know you don't have nearly as much time on social media as you used to, but tell everybody how to cyberstalk you.
yes. Oh, right. Absolutely. I am on Twitter at Max Gladstone. I am max.gladstone, I think, on Instagram. And if you go to maxgladstone.com, which is my website, you can sign up. There'll be a banner at the top. You can sign up for my announcements newsletter, which is very tasteful and only when I actually have something to announce. But in the near future, I'm hoping to start a sort of content newsletter. So that will also be announced on the announcements newsletter. You know, that's the best way to keep apprised of anything that's going on in my life or career.
For newsletters. Yay.
Newsletters.
Awesome. He promises he doesn't post about every time he walks a dog. It's cool. It's fine.
Always good.
You have been amazing. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Hey, thank you for inviting me. This has been a really wonderful way to spend an evening. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Okay, I've been your host, Erica Lance, and with me,
Mark Muncy from at Eyre, Florida.
and we will see you next time, guys.
Cheers.